One day, my wife comes home and excitedly tells me that she's interested in us trying to spark up our life in the bedroom again. At this point, it had been about 2 years and I'd wager that we hadn't had sex more than 5 times in that period, so of course, I was a bit stunned by her sudden enthusiasm to get things started again. Oh wow, what is making you so eager for us to start trying again? I had to ask because sex almost never seems like something that my wife thinks about unless I bring it up. I had a discussion with some people at work about sex, and it really brought up a lot of things that we might be able to try out to spice things up, was what she responded to me. I'm on guard as she says this because talking about sex should be less awkward or juvenile among doctors than any other group of people, but I've never gotten the idea that she and her coworkers talk about things like that. So, I asked her what they talked about and who she talked about these things with. After all, I know most of her coworkers by name. Just Devin and some of the others. Like I said, I know most of her coworkers by name, so for the rest of them to end up relegated to an uncertain the others left me feeling uneasy. I felt like challenging her at that point because I felt like it might have been a personal conversation with Devin, and if she was talking about with Devin one-on-one, that would not be in good taste, obviously. No problem, I'm listening, I said. So, on she continued, telling me about how the conversation went from how important sex is, to marriages, toys. And then she let it slip, that she used our case as an example in this convo. I mean, I've never been bitter about the whole situation, but it can be very frustrating. So to hear that it's being brought up by her in public conversations with coworkers, by the way, many of whom know me rather well, made me very unhappy with her. However, my wife is a rather private person, so this didn't sound right to me. So this was just you and Devin then, right? I said this quickly to catch her off guard and watch her reaction. She seemed startled and flustered, but she was quick to deny it. No, it was me and some of the others. Devin was there though. I looked closely at her and she tried to maintain my gaze but her eyes kept darting away. There were probably 5 seconds of silence before I said, "Tell the truth." She said nothing, and this time, she just looked down. I actually saw a teardrop fall from her eyes. It was just you and Devin, right? Looking back, this was uncharacteristically relentless of me, but I think all of the Devin stories had me on something of a mean streak. Looking back, I'm glad it came at that moment because I might have let it slide otherwise, and ended up musing about it for hours. She squeaked out a yes. "Okay, continue the story then," I said to her. But she didn't say anything because I had caught her in a lie. We just sat there in silence, for a very long time, and I was extremely pissed, but I did my best to keep my composure and stay calm. After about 2 minutes of nothing but quiet, she finally apologized. "I'm sorry for lying. I knew it wouldn't be a good look to admit that I had a private conversation of that kind with him alone." She looked at me, but I kept a stone face. "But I swear, we just talked. There was nothing else to it. I don't think you did anything unless you're banging in the broom closet at work. But I hate how you're bringing our private life to other people. I especially hate you bringing our private life to Devin of all people." "Really? So was it talking to Devin that could potentially break the deadlock we've been sitting through in our marriage? You know what that looks like, right? I swear, he's like a brother to me. I've always said it and I hate that you don't believe me. There's nothing between us and talking to him about it was just like talking to a friend. Or even like talking to a therapist or something." So, at this point, I realized I was shaking with rage, because I could tell that my wife was slowly trying to turn this thing against me. Suddenly, she was about to be the victim. I've had this thing happen during arguments with her, but before then, it had never been with something that pissed me off so much. So I told her, "Before you turn yourself into the victim here, it's fine. Keep having your conversations with Devin, the brother who you have such deep interactions with. I'm actually interested in seeing how this unofficial therapist can help us out in the bedroom." And with that, I stood up and left the room. I slept on the couch that day. Now, I'm going to need to fast forward about a week. The next 2 days were a bit awkward but we eventually got past it, and I didn't hear anything about Devin, which for me, worked out beautifully. I knew she'd still be interacting with him since they worked together, but at least I didn't need to keep hearing about him and that was enough for me, at least in that moment. I thought that things were fine and we were about to have things go back to normal until a week had passed from the day we had our big argument.